Aloha mai kako. Good morning, everyone. This is the April 26th, 2023 Land Use Commission meeting. This is an in-person meeting being held at the Honolulu Airport Conference Center, 400 Rogers Boulevard, 7th floor, Suite IIT, Suite 700, room number 1, Honolulu 96819. Court reporting transcriptions are being done from the Zoom recording of this meeting. Can I get confirmation that the Zoom recording is operating correctly? It is. For all meeting participants, I would like to stress to everyone the importance of speaking slowly, clearly, and directly into your microphone. And before speaking, please state your name and identify yourself for the record. Even though this is an in-person meeting, please be aware that all meeting participants are being recorded on the digital record of this Zoom meeting. This is for court reporting purposes. Your continued participation is your implied consent. I know that everybody's happy about that. Yeah. Your continued participation is your implied consent to be part of the public record of this event. If you do not wish to be part of the public record, you should exit the meeting now. My name is Dan Giovanni, and I have the pleasure to serve as the LUC chair. We currently have 8 seated commissioners. Along with me, Commissioners Lee Ohigashi of Maui, Commissioner Koiki Kamakea Ohelo, Commissioner Melvin Kahele, Commissioner George Atta, Commissioner Gary Okuda, all from Oahu, Commissioner Nancy Cabral from Hawaii Island. Excused today are our new Commissioner Brian Lee and Mr. Commissioner Michael Yamani. They are excused from today's meeting. Also here from staff, we have the LUC Executive Officer Daniel Orendanker, LUC Chief Planner Scott Derrickson, LUC Staff Planner Riley Hakoda, LUC Staff Planner Martina Segura, LUC Chief Clerk Ariana Kwan. And joining us by Zoom is LUC Attorney General Dan Morris. Correction, Julie Chen. Julie, can you see us and hear us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you for confirming, and sorry for the confusion. Our first order of business is the adoption of the April 12th, 2023 minutes. Ms. Kwan, has there been any written testimony submitted on this matter?
No, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Kwan, is there any members of the public signed up to testify on the adoption of the minutes?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Commissioners, are there any corrections or comments on the minutes? Commissioner Cabral.
I have just notified the staff that Jeffrey Darrell from Hawaii County Planning Department was also present. And then there's one little typo I found, so just to be picky. So thank you. I would recommend that we move that we approve the minutes with that change or that addition of the name.
I will take that as a motion to approve the minutes from the April 12th, 2023 meeting, subject to those 2 corrections. Seconded by Commissioner Ohigashi. So a motion has been made by Commissioner Cabral and seconded by Commissioner Ohigashi. I was absent at that meeting and will abstain from voting. But otherwise, can I have all in favor of the adoption of the minutes? Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And again, I abstain. The minutes are adopted. Thank you. The next agenda item is the tentative meeting schedule, and I'll call on Mr. Orendanker to update us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On June 7th, we will be on Maui for the Emmanuel Lutheran matter. May 7th,
Yeah, June 7th.
June 7th, June 7th. Yeah, there are no meetings currently scheduled for May, as Commissioner Assad just pointed out. We would ask the commissioners to hold the 24th and the 25th just of May, just in case something happens. On June 21st and 22nd, we will be on Hilo. On the 21st, we will be taking up the Kamehameha Schools status report. And on the 22nd, we will be doing the Ben Corp status report. In July, we do not have anything currently scheduled. Although I would urge the commissioners to leave those dates open as well.
Can you confirm the dates?
That is July 12th and 13th and July 26th and 27th. August is also open, and that is July 9th and August 9th and 10th and August 23rd and 24th. I would also note that on May 16th through 18th, that myself and two commissioners will be attending the ULI spring meeting. And that is all that we have on the calendar.
Thank you. The ULI spring meeting is in Toronto, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions on the tentative schedule? Hearing none, we'll proceed. Our fourth order of business is action on SP 23-415 WAIAWA Correctional Facility, Oahu. To consider special permit application for an after the fact special use permit SUP number 2022/SUP-3 filed by the State of Hawaii Department of Accounting and General Services. That's the petitioner for the WAIAWA Correctional Facility to bring the facility into compliance with state land use law, Chapter 205, Hawaii Revised Statutes. Petition includes approximately 23.7 acres of land in the state agricultural district identified by tax map key number 19-6-005:011 in the Ewa district of Oahu, Hawaii. Will the parties please identify themselves for the record, starting with the petitioner.
Morning, Chair Giovanni.
Good morning, Chair Giovanni, Commissioners. My name is Deputy Attorney General Linda Chow. Thank you. I'm representing DAGS, the Department of Accounting and General Services. With me here today is Lance Maha, who's planner with the Department of Accounting and General Services, and Ivan Lee, who's with SSFM, who is our consultant on this petition.
Thank you very much. So I received an email just a short time ago, a copy of an email from City and County of Honolulu that indicated that they will not be in attendance in person today. Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, Ms. Kato.
I don't have a button, sorry. Alison Kato, Deputy Attorney General for the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Thank you, Ms. Kato. Sir, can you identify yourself for the record?
My name is Ivan Lee. I'm with Linda Chow and Asma for,
Thank you for the clarification.
okay.
Disclosures. Do any of the commissioners have any disclosures to make at this time regarding this matter? Hearing none, we'll proceed. Reference of the record. Please be informed that the relevant records and documents pertaining to this matter can be accessed for review on the LUC website at luc.hawaii.gov/SP23-415, specifically under the quote pending dockets end quote tab. Interested parties are welcome to review the documents at their convenience. Public testimony. I will now recognize written public testimony submitted in this matter, identifying the persons and or organizations submitting the testimony. Ms. Kwan, has there been any written public testimony submitted on this matter?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Ms. Kwan, has there been any members of the public who have signed up for public testimony on SP 2315 WAIAWA Correctional?
No, Mr. Chair.
Proceedings. Before we go any further, I'd like to note that it is my understanding that the petitioner has filed a stipulated agreement to remand the petition back to the Planning Commission. Petitioner, would you please clarify if that is correct? And will you elaborate on the status of this stipulated agreement?
That is correct. So.
Could you state your name and for the record, please?
Yes, I will. I'm Deputy Attorney General Linda Chow. And yes, that is correct. We did file a stipulation with the Department of Office or the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, as well as the Corporation Council representing the Department of Planning and Permitting. And we're all in agreement that this matter should be remanded back to the Planning Commission so that we can supplement the record. We do understand, that under the statutes and the rules that for a special use permit, that the Land Use Commission can only consider evidence that was put in before the Planning Commission, and that there can be no supplementation of the record at the Land Use Commission level. We believe that there are cogent and relevant information and evidence that should be put in and considered by the Land Use Commission that was not put in below. And so we would like the opportunity to supplement the record with that information and to bring it back to the Land Use Commission.
So if I understand correctly, you intend to go back to the Planning Commission and supplement the record with cogent information that will then come forward at a subsequent time to the State Land Use Commission as part of the record. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So I did receive notice by email this morning from the county that they have agreed and signed off on the stipulation. Is that your understanding as well?
That is my understanding.
Thank you. So now I'll turn to OPSD. Do you have any objections, comments regarding the stipulated agreement to remand the petition?
OPSD has no objections. We believe that it would be good for a petitioner to provide more for the record to give a better presentation to you.
So is OPSD a party to the stipulated agreement?
Yes.
Very good. Any questions, commissioners, for the petitioner or any of the parties? Commissioner Okuda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Gary Okuda. Let me frame my questions so that you see where we're going. And, this is not to trap anyone or anything like that. And this goes to the issue or the matter of about the cogent information which will be supplemented or intended to be supplemented. There's two areas I wanted to ask you about as far as supplementation. One is the scope of a special permit and the information which you might consider in supplementing the record. And the second area is whether or not the record as it stands now needs to be supplemented with cogent information required by Chapter 343. So let me take the second element first and go over that. Now, I'm only going to ask the questions. It's up to you folks whether you think this type of information needs to be presented or not presented. The reason why I'm raising it is just so that if and when this matter comes back before us, it won't be a surprise or it won't look like an ambush because I don't think, you know, we accomplish anything by trying to ambush anybody. So I'm trying to show you what at least just my concerns are. I don't speak for anyone else, okay? But taking first the issue of a Chapter 343 compliance. Chapter 343, as we know, deals with environmental assessments, environmental impact statements, correct?
Correct.
Okay, let me read you a sentence from this Hawaii Supreme Court case, Sierra Club versus Department of Transportation, found at 115 Hawaii Reports 239. What I'm going to read is a sentence found at page 306. The Pacific Third citation is 167 Pacific Third 292 at page 299. That's a 2007 Hawaii Supreme Court case. And the case is better known or known by other people as the Super Ferry case. And this is what the Supreme Court wrote at that location in the case. And I quote, "The law requires that government give systematic consideration to the environmental, social, and economic consequences of proposed development projects prior to allowing construction to begin." Close quote. Is that an accurate statement of the law?
I believe it is.
Okay. Do you folks agree that prisons, and in fact, the type of prison can have social impacts?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And along this line, the Hawaii legislature created a commission called the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission to help guide Hawaii's policies regarding prisons. Isn't that correct?
I'm not sure. I've not been advising public safety department, but
Yeah, well, that's fair. Let me just tell you where you might want to look at. And again,
sure.
I'm not saying that my view of the law or what I'm going over is correct or not. This is just to give you a heads up on something to look at. You make the independent decision whether you believe these matters require supplementation or not. You know, it may not require supplementation and it might not have any outcome on the ultimate outcome. But please look at HRS section 353L-3, which sets forth the duties, the powers of the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission. And what it says in 353L-3, subparagraph B, subparagraph 1, it says the commission shall, and it's number 1, oversee the state's correctional system and have jurisdiction over investigating complaints at correctional facilities and facilitating a correctional system transition to a rehabilitative and therapeutic model. And then the statute continues on regarding other duties of the commission. And this commission consists, correct, of 5 commissioners, right? Well, anyway, take a look at the statute because the 5 commissioners, one is appointed from each of the following entities or people. For example, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs selects 1 commissioner. The Speaker of the House selects another commissioner. The President of the Senate selects another commissioner. The governor selects another commissioner, and the Chief Justice selects the final commissioner. Do you have any idea or knowledge of why the Office of Hawaiian Affairs selects a commissioner on this commission? Because, for example, like us on the Land Use Commission, I don't think the Office of Hawaiian Affairs automatically selects anyone, you know, on the commission. Do you have any idea or understanding of why the Office of Hawaiian Affairs would select a commissioner?
No, I do not.
Okay. But you might look at who's appointed to the commission right now. 5 individuals, they seem actually really experienced in the area of corrections and prisons. And I wouldn't take any of these people as being people who are like, oh, wow, we really don't need any prisons at all. I mean, one of the people on the commission is retired Judge Ronald Ibarra, who I believe when he was chief judge of the Third Circuit, which covered the county of Hawaii, he set up the Veterans Court, the Drug Court. I know I'm not testifying here, but my recollection of being in his courtroom is he's a law and order kind of guy. You have retired Judge Michael Town. You have a couple former prison administrators. So these people seem to have a lot of knowledge and information about about prisons. Is there anything in the record right now which indicates the input of the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission was included in any of the 343 HRS chapter assessments or reviews? Did they weigh in on anything dealing with the WAIAWA Correctional Facility or anything related to the special permit that is brought before us today, which is going to be remanded?
In my review of the record, I did not see anything from that commission.
Oh, okay. And my only suggestion is this: if you will, consider what I hope is just a humble request, that you look at whether or not input from the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission might be relevant in this case to determine social impacts. Now, again, I've never really practiced criminal law, so I'm definitely not the expert in that, but that's the reason why we have a 343 HRS chapter review, whether it's an environmental assessment or an environmental impact statement, is so that we will have the information to determine what might be the social impacts of the government decision here. And let me tell you one of my concerns of why I personally would like input from the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission. And it's because of I want to make sure that whatever we do or whatever I vote is consistent with what the commission and other experts, in addition to the commission, believe should be the outlook or the goal of the prison system here. And again, I'm not the expert, so that's why we rely on the Chapter 343 reports and submissions. But one of the things that concerns me is a report that I found on the United States Department of Justice list of studies and reports. And just so that the record is clear here, let me just quote a very short sentence. It's actually a run-on sentence, but it summarizes this report called "Disparate Treatment of Native Hawaiians in the Criminal Justice System." And the NCJ number is 242614. The date that the report was published is 2010, and it consists of 104 pages. Now, I'm not going to read all the 104 pages are submitted in the record. I'm just raising this so that maybe you can see why, at least just me personally, I would like to see input from the commission. But this is what, for example, the abstract of that report says. It says, and I quote, "Native Hawaiians bear a disproportionate burden of punitive responses to drug use, semicolon. And Native Hawaiians do not use drugs at a drastically different rate from other races or ethnicities, but go to prison for drug offenses more often than people of other races or ethnicities, semicolon. and Native Hawaiians are charged with the majority of offenses related to methamphetamine, comma, but report using this drug at only slightly higher rates than people of other races or ethnicities, close quote. So I'm not saying, so again, to repeat myself, at least me personally, I would like to see the record supplemented to be sure we satisfy the requirements of Chapter 343 and social impacts, if anything, are addressed by the record if and when it comes back up to us. And I personally believe input from the commission, which as far as I can tell, consists of very, very experienced people from who have been involved in the criminal justice system, that input be included so we on the commission who are not experts in corrections or social impacts of the correctional system are fully educated. So please consider my request, okay? The second point about whether or not the issue regarding special permits is addressed versus a district boundary amendment is please also have addressed in the record whether or not a special permit will in fact comply with what the Supreme Court has laid out as far as limitations of the use of the special permit. An example of what the Supreme Court has said is this case called Neighborhood Board number 24, parent Waianae Coast, closed parent versus State Land Use Commission, which is found at 64 Hawaii Reports, 265. And I'm sorry, I don't have the Pacific Reporter section, but that citation, but that's the official reporter citation, which is a 1982 Hawaii Supreme Court case, which dealt with what we all know as the Kapolei Water Park. So so if the record, when it comes back up here, if it does, makes clear why a special permit is appropriate and satisfies the requirements of the case I cited. So, Mr. Chair, that's basically my commentary at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Okuda. I think your points are on point and to be well taken by petitioner as they proceed back through the process and return before they return here. So thank you, Commissioner Okuda.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioners, any further comments or questions? Okay, given the circumstances and according with our procedural process, we're going to ask again a second time if there's any public testimony on this matter. So Ms. Kwan, is there anybody that would like to give public testimony at this time?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Petitioner, any final comments you'd like to make at this time?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, what is your pleasure with the understanding that there is a stipulated agreement to remand this petition? Is there a motion to remand the petition back to the Honolulu Planning Commission? Commissioner Higashi.
I move to remand this matter back to the Honolulu Planning Commission under the terms of the stipulation that has been filed by the parties.
Thank you, Commissioner. And is there a second to the motion?
Chair, I second the motion.
There's a motion that has been moved by Commissioner Higashi and seconded by Commissioner Okuda. Commissioner Higashi, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, because my mic is broken. Oh, no, I guess I would echo Mr. Okuda's statements, Commissioner Okuda's statements. And I think that given
given that it's one of my pet peeves about special use permits, I would hope that the state of Hawaii agencies would really look at whether or not they should determine whether this should be done as a DBA. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Higashi. Commissioner Okuda, would you like to speak to your second?
This is Gary Okuda. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my reasons and my questions have already been laid out. I do believe more input from, and I hate to use the word stakeholders because everyone in the community has a stake in what the outcome is, but it also might be helpful or relevant if the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is consulted with what their view is, because this is more than just simply building a prison. Okay, and we're not talking about just simply putting up a government building. This facility has social impacts, and we need guidance here from people who are have expertise in the area about what the social impacts are. Easy to put up a building, hard later to fix negative social impacts. So I would ask everyone to vote in favor of remanding this and approving the stipulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any other comments?
May I clarify?
Yes, please. The
so-
chair recognizes the petitioner.
Hi, Deputy Attorney General Linda Chow again. And I would just want to clarify that this petition is not for the erection of any new structures. This is only for the an after the fact permit for the existing facilities that are already there.
Hey, thank you for the clarification. I think the record reflects that.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioners, further comment? Commissioner Cabral.
Thank you, and I actually want to support the motion and particularly thank Commissioner Okuda for his input in the fact that these are things that most of us don't think about when a building goes up and when the streets go in and the stoplights are there and that, but it is clearly something that is in the big picture in a community we need to put more thought into. So I appreciate that this has come forward and absolutely support that recommendation so that maybe things could become different and, you know, you add more acreage for to raise cattle or something good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabral. The chair will also support the motion, although I also want to add my commentary behind that of Commissioner Ohigashi regarding the special use permit versus a DBA. The trouble that we have as commissioners, and it's come up recently and several times, is that special use permits on agricultural land for developments that have permanence, as if this prison is going to disappear at the end of a certain fixed term, is troublesome to us. It just seems that when a development of agricultural land has a never-ending cycle to it, it doesn't have a fixed term that will return that land to agriculture, that a DBA may be more appropriate. So we ask you to take that to heart. And if you do come forward under the terms of a special permit, please have a good story for why it's not a DBA request. So with that, I'll turn to Mr. Orendanker for a vote of the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion is to remand this matter back to the Honolulu Planning Commission under the terms of the stipulation signed by the parties. Commissioner Ohigashi. Aye. Commissioner Okuda.
Yes.
Commissioner Atta.
Aye.
Commissioner Cabral.
Yes.
Commissioner Kahele. Aye. Commissioner Tamakea Ohela.
Aye.
Commissioners Yamane and Lee are excused. Chair Giovanni.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair. Yeah, Chair recognizes Mr. Rondecker.
If I may, I would like to thank the commissioners for their patience with our antiquated microphone system. Our chief clerk and I have finally received clarification and notification that we are able to purchase new systems, which will be much superior to the ones that we currently have. But I thank the commissioners for their patience.
We would appreciate that. Okay, we'll now move on to the next agenda item, which has to do with the elections of officers of the commission for our next term. Ms. Kwan, has there been any written testimony submitted on this matter?
No, Mr. Chair.
Are there any members of the public who wish to testify on this matter? Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Let the record show that Ms. Kwan does not need a microphone. Okay. There is some consideration about whether or not we need to form a committee to make recommendations to the full commission regarding election of officers. So Chair recognizes Commissioner Okuda to speak on this topic.
Thank you. This is Gary Okuda. Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we nominate and thereafter elect yourself, Dan Giovanni, as chairperson of the Land Use Commission, Commissioner Ohigashi as first vice chair, and Commissioner Michael Yamane, who is not here, but I understand that he would not have any objection, as second vice chair. If necessary, I'll speak of the reasons for that motion. But that would be my motion. I don't believe a nominating committee is necessary.
Thank you, Commissioner Okuda. Do I have a second to that motion? Commissioner Cabral?
I'll second that.
Mr. Ohigashi, you'll be given an opportunity, Commissioner Ohigashi, to speak for or against the motion. Okay, so let me ask Commissioner Okuda to speak in support of his motion.
This is Gary Okuda. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the legal principle involved is if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I don't think we need to go over why things aren't broken here. And in fact, I think it's that's an understatement of how things have progressed. And so I believe that we haven't faced any criticism, mainly because of the calm leadership and calm way that the hearings have been run so far. And so for those reasons and the history of what took place, I would ask that my motion be supported. Thank you.
Commissioner Cabral?
Yes, I would like to also praise, I think, our commission and the commission since I've been involved, and also the staff for the preparation, the really what I think excellent job on preparing our information and trying to help make me look good even when I can't hear and speak properly. So I want to thank everybody. So you know, it's a real team effort, and I appreciate the teamwork. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabral. Commissioners, any further? Anybody else want to speak to this? Commissioner Ohigashi?
You know, I feel drafted, but one of my comment is simply this is, don't be surprised if I do get elected, don't be surprised if I have the same schedule.
Mike's not here, so.
My comment is really one of sadness with the loss of our current first vice chair, Nancy Cabral. So Commissioner Cabral, I want to acknowledge and thank you for serving as first vice chair and for serving on this commission for several years. So
Not done yet.
you're not done yet, but we are, but this motion is prospective till after. So I just want the record to show that even if we adopt this, if we pass this motion, that Ms. Cabral will continue as first vice chair, thereby relieving our second vice chair of the risk of having to sit in for me
He needs practice.
until such time that she, her term is fully finished. Okay, let's have a roll call on this motion. By the way, I am willing to serve, so thank you for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion is to elect Chair Giovanni to another term, elect Commissioner Ohigashi to first vice chair and Commissioner Yamane as second vice chair. Okay, Commissioner Okuda,
Yes.
Commissioner Cabral,
Yes.
Commissioner Ohigashi, okay. Commissioner, okay.
So let the record show that we lost the Zoom connection for a short period of time. My understanding is that it was during the vote on the last agenda item. So I'm going to call on Mr. Orendanker. Mr. Orendanker, will you summarize the vote of the last motion? Julie, can you confirm what the last thing is that you saw and heard?
You were getting ready to vote. And so we lost the connection right before we heard what the votes were.
Okay, so this is the vote on the motion that a committee was not required for election of officers, and there was actually a nomination of 3 commissioners to myself as continuing as the chair, Commissioner Ohigashi to serve as first vice chair, and Commissioner Michael Yamane to proceed as second vice chair in the new term. And that vote was taken, and I'm going to call on Mr. Orendanker to re-summarize that vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The vote was 6 affirmative votes and 1 abstention by Commissioner Ohigashi.
Vote is passed.
So the motion is passed, yes.
That's sufficient, Julie?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to consider personnel matters, and I'm going to turn to Commissioner Ohigashi on recommendations of how we might proceed. And there is general consensus here, and the chair agrees that we do not need an executive session for this, since we're going to be talking about the process and procedure as opposed to any specific recommendation.
So what I intend to do is to follow Commissioner Wong's format in the evaluation of our director. What he did was he gathered information concerning the director and compiled it and submitted it at a formal meeting during an executive session to deal with our evaluation of the director in this matter. And my proposal is that that you authorize me, Mr. Chair, to start transmitting requests for such information and information gathering, and that we would have something prepared by the I think it was June 7th meeting regarding the evaluation of our director. And permit me to just set some deadlines so that responses can be.
So the chair believes this is an excellent recommendation. So let me summarize my understanding. So Commissioner Ohigashi will take the lead to informally update a survey that prior Commissioner Arnold Wong had used in prior sessions for the evaluation of the director of the commission. to be made by commissioner staff. So he will update the forms, have them distributed to each of the commissioners. Each of the commissioners will be asked by email to respond to Commissioner Ohigashi. Commissioner Ohigashi, maybe, let's be sure you give a deadline for those responses when you send them to us. Commissioner Wong always gave us a deadline. And then based on the completed forms that you receive, you'll prepare a summary and present that to the commission at our next meeting on June 7th at that time. Let me also state that it's my understanding that in advance of the June 7th meeting, we expect to get clarification on the budget, the state budget, and what allocations might be made for the commission, which are still not clear to us, again, for that next term. So there may be also at that June 7th meeting, considerations for financial considerations that tie to that evaluation. So again, that would be a business item to be handled in executive session, and it should be agendized as such for our June 7th meeting. Is that clear to all commissioners? Okay. Commissioner Cabral, please.
Having been on the commission now several years and being the senior here, I would like to support this motion or this movement forward to take care of this and really encourage that we do it on an annual basis. Early on when I was on, it wasn't done annually, and it made catching up in terms of what goes on with state budgets and that really difficult. And I think we're always kind of behind the 8 ball for that for our executive director. So I highly recommend we proceed with this. And I think my co-commissioner director, Ohigashi, for taking this on and following a good job that Arnold did setting it up several years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabral. Quick question. Is there any clarification on the annual increase for the unionized state workers? Over here. Mr. Orndecker.
Yeah. Short answer, no.
I expect we will have clarification of that by our next meeting.
Yes, yes. Where there are two sides to that coin. Number one is, I'm not sure I know exactly how much the negotiated increases will pertain to our entire budget. Second of all, I am unclear as to what the state budget, which was just passed by the legislature, contains with regard to that.
But you expect clarification next week?
Yeah, we expect the worksheets on the budget to come out in about mid-May, yeah, 2-3 weeks.
So the chair would just like to state for the record that, you know, the historical trends prior to the current year have been relatively modest, as interest rates were low and inflation rates were low. But there has been a substantial change in that, recognized by everyone over the last 12 months. So I am particularly interested of how the state legislature and the governor's office will take that into account. And I look forward to those clarifications.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we adjourn, I would like to, I just realized that I may not have communicated with everyone with regard to this, but there has been a appointment approved by the Senate to replace Commissioner Can. And that is a gentleman by the name of Brian Lee, who currently serves on the Planning Commission of City and County of Honolulu. He is a member, represents the unions, the Carpenters Union in particular, on various matters. And he will be joining us once he has extricated himself from the other commissions that he currently sits on. We're expecting him in the June meeting.
Commissioner Higashi.
Can you get me his email so that maybe part of it?
Most certainly.
He is a little confused, so
He's gone through and advised.
he's been approved, but he cannot sit on the commission until he has extricated himself. What do you mean by that, extricated?
State law is extricated. Yeah, he's got to quit. He's got to quit. Yeah. We've got a plan to break him out, and we're not. The way I understand state law with regard to commissioners is that you can only serve on one board of commission at a time. And so he had resigned from the planning commission, and they asked him to stay on because they had some things that they had not finished they needed him to complete with them. So he agreed to stay on for another month. Otherwise, he would have been resigned and been at this meeting.
Okay. So he has agreed to serve an additional month on the Honolulu Planning Commission, which is conflict with today's meeting, which is why he's not here.
That's correct.
But if he doesn't extend beyond the current month, he will have cleared up, he will have effectively extricated himself from everything he needs to extricate himself. And he'll be here in June.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Got it. Mr. Cabral.
I'd also like to ask, I know we are not allowing the commissioners to be on Zoom to attend, and we of course did that a lot during COVID. And then for a while, we were doing a combination of live and potentially on Zoom combination meetings. I particularly thought that was somewhat advantageous to busy schedules. But I am going to be out of town and out of the country on June 7th. And that's the only date of all the dates you have moving forward that I will not be available. So I'm wondering if for the full hearing or potentially for that portion of it, if I'm able to find a Zoom connection in Australia, New Zealand, where I'll be, that I could attend that portion of it on Zoom. So just an inquiry there. Thank you.
We will attempt to make you on that. Commissioner Cabral, but you have to keep track of the dates because you'll be.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Wait, let me get it straight. So so you will be available
21st and 22nd.
Yeah.
Yes.
but you're asking for a special accommodation for the June 7 meeting.
Yes.
You'll be in Australia.
Yeah, or New Zealand.
And
I'm not sure what day that is. Yeah, there we go. I'll have to figure all this out.
So let me encourage LUC staff to see if an accommodation can be.
Thank you.
We will do so.
Thank you. Any other business? Anyone? This meeting is adjourned.
Okay,
Thank you all.
I'm ready for all.